guys, what's up? It's Joe Raiti from Raiti's Rides. We're here in Las Vegas for the 2021 edition of the SEMA show, walking around the show floor, and of course we had to stop at the Ford Motor Company booth. Very, very interesting display, especially with what's next to me. This is a 2022 Ford Shelby Mustang Mach-E GT. But before we dive in to this very, very special Mach-E, let's talk about what's going on here. You'd have to be living under a rock to know that things are changing in the auto industry, especially when it comes to electrification. Lots of brands jumping on board, lots of brands professing that they are switching to full EV lineup of vehicles. Now, when Ford came out with the Mach-E for 2021, a lot of people were a little frustrated with them using the name Mustang attached to the Mach-E. But I think as the year has gone by, more and more people have becoming accepting of this vehicle. And now with the Mach-E GT becoming available and performance being brought to a new level for this EV vehicle from Ford, of course, we have to get some other players into the game. That group would be Shelby American. Think about it. It goes all the way back to 1965 when Carroll Shelby took that Mustang that was a secretary's car and turned it into a true performing race car with the Shelby GT350. Over the years, GT350, in 1967, of course, you had the GT500. Fast forward to the 21st century, the Shelby name is available on a Ford product directly from a Ford factory with the GT500, but that is not a true Shelby vehicle because it never went through the doors of Shelby American, which is located now here in Las Vegas. A long time ago, when Carroll Shelby first started, it was back in California. It now is in Las Vegas. Carroll Shelby is no longer with us, but you know what? His name lives on, and performance is the name of the game and definitely associated with the name Shelby. So what Shelby American did was they took a Mustang Mach-E GT and brought that Shelby goodness. But what I want to find out is this worthy of the Shelby name, and is this a performance EV that you would buy? So let's go ahead, let's dive into this 2022 Mustang, Shelby Mustang Mach-E GT and find out. Right off the bat, the color. You can't beat white with the blue racing stripes. It goes all the way back to the original days, just like on my 2020 Shelby GT350R Heritage Edition, we have the white. Now, it's not Wimbledon white, it's a nice metallic pearlescent white, but it really has a great style to it. As we come around the front, you'll notice these massive design changes. So we're gonna have some air intakes that have been just totally honed into the front fascia. Shelby American reworked the whole front bumper area. Of course, from the factory, you're gonna have the full LED lighting with those tri-bars in there to give it that Mustang styling. Remember, this is a four-door crossover electric SUV. You'll notice the massive metallic black splitter that extends out, really shows that purpose of giving downforce. And I think more and more people are learning that performance side of things when it comes to EV vehicles. Now, as we come across the front area that normally we would call the grille, there is no traditional grille, but what you have is the Mustang pony there with the blue, showing that this is an electrified vehicle. And then what Shelby American did is they used forged carbon fibers. So this grille area is actually forged carbon fiber, gives it a nice style. And I think that's one of the things that's important when you're comparing this to maybe a Tesla product, is even though this doesn't have a grille up front, having this design makes it feel more like a traditional car, a traditional vehicle. And I think that's where a lot of people gravitate towards it. Of course, if you have a Shelby vehicle that's gone through the doors of Las Vegas, we got the Shelby name on this flat black section, and it really, like I said, shows that connection to the Mustangs of the past, like the wire mesh grille area down here. And you'll notice the start of those blue racing stripes. And what do? They go all the way up onto the hood. And when I'm talking a hood, love the style. Now, of course, on your standard Mach-E, you would have that front-mounted trunk area that's also used as a cooler. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have Lori kind of swing around and step up on the platform and just show you how they work this hood with this aerodynamic efficiency, nice wire mesh grille area. This thing makes it look super, super sharp. But is it enough? Is there more performance? That is one of the things. You know, normally we would talk about Shelby American putting a supercharger on a car. Well, guess what? This is obviously an EV vehicle, so there isn't any of that. So from a performance standpoint, you are just getting your standard dual motor setup, well over 400 horsepower on that Mach-E GT platform. But where Shelby American did the work is not only to the exterior, but look at this. I'm gonna come around to the side. You have these nice fender flares into that fender work all the way around. You'll notice as we kind of come around the back how they brought this corner air curtain here. Nicely done for that aerodynamic efficiency. And what we have for a wheel and tire setup is some modifications. So you'll notice this 20-inch monoblock wheel. Love the nice style to it, wrapped in Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires, so you're gonna get more of a performance tire up front. 265 on the width, 40 series sidewall. You'll notice the Brembo name and that bright red caliper. Remember, we have regen braking. That means when you hit the brakes, you actually charge the batteries, and we have the dual motor setup. So we have all-wheel drive, motor up front, motor out rear. Like I said, we're looking around 476 horsepower to keep the power to the ground. And I do love the flared fender look of this thing. My problem is calling it a Mustang still. And I'm not too sure about the Shelby name on this vehicle. But they did the work also with suspension tuning and the wheels really making it sharp. Now, as we go down the side, loving the side stripe all the way down, especially with the light blue and that darker Kona blue shade. You're gonna have that Mach-E 4X. That tells us that we have that all-wheel drive componentry. Standard side sill extension. It would have been nice to maybe have this kind of extend out and bring some of that extra aero from the front really to separate it, but we got black matched on the mirror caps. Of course, you're gonna have your full glass roof up top. And then as we work towards our rear, those stripes come all the way to the back. And this is where it's got a nice touch. I love that Shelby name and the way they flared out the stripes into the rear fender. There's that rear fender flare. Definitely gives it more of a performance look that a lot of people wanna see. And then coming towards the back, the tail end of the business, you'll notice the stripes come down. Obviously, because of the glass roof, they don't run all the way over the top, but the stripes come down, the Shelby name. Nice to see that connection and where we're going in the future, especially with the way they did the Mustang styling with the tri-bar taillights. Clear in their style. I am gonna have to zonk this wiper though. Without the wiper, it would clear this whole look up, and I think Shelby American should have done something with the low roof spoiler, maybe extend it out, maybe have some type of kick up, but I love that nice rear quarter flared fender look, looking really good, keeping the power to the ground with the all-wheel drive. This going up against, like I said, the Tesla Model Y Performance. We did do a review of that. I'll leave the link of that at the end of this one so you can watch what Tesla's doing with their performance. Small crossover SUV. But the Shelby name, so historic. He hasn't been with us since 2012, but his name lives on. Gonna be interesting to see what happens down the road when Ford eventually comes out with some type of electrified Mustang. You know, there's talk that supposedly patents were discovered about a hybrid setup on a Mustang, maybe coming for 2023. So will that be the first time that we see electrification with a Mustang from Ford having a hybrid setup? But this Mach-E definitely getting into a stride of its own. I still think to this day that if they would have just called it the Mach-E, it kind of would have just summed it up perfectly. I still don't know why they have to call it a Mustang. I know why, it's a marketing thing, but will this eventually be the substitute? Instead of going in and getting a GT500, will this be your go-to for a Shelby electrified vehicle? It's gonna be interesting to see how this all pans out. Obviously, back in 1965, a lot of people thought Carroll Shelby couldn't take that Mustang and turn it into a sports car. So can Shelby American take the Mach-E and kind of do the same thing? It's gonna be interesting to see how it pans out, but let me know what you think. Comparing this to Audi's e-Trons, comparing this to the Teslas and all those other goodies out there when it comes to EVs, is this a unique way to look at electrification, make it more exciting, and have that enthusiast connection? Put it in that comment section. But if you're new to the channel, you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile coming back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Raiti's Rides family. If you're wanting to help us keep this content coming, hit the link in the description, get yourself some Raity's Rise merch. Got to get up to the queen of the camera. This one was a tough one. We got an LED display with certain light. We got people around us, but we make the magic happen. She is the best in the biz. So show Lori some love in the comment section. Thank you, Lori, for all that you do. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.